Judge Harold Whitman sat tall in his large chair, looking out at the busy courtroom. The room smelled of cleaning products and the perfume of too many people in one space. He adjusted his long black robes with the silver pin that showed he worked for the Galactic Confederation. After 15 years as a judge, he knew how to command respect just by sitting straighter. He tapped his screen to see who was next. The name Dr. Amara Jenkins appeared, charged with breaking Rule 27.3 of the space laws. Next case, called his clerk, Mr. Lee. The doors opened, and a woman walked in with calm, measured steps. Dr. Jenkins wore a simple gray suit that looked expensive but not flashy. Her hair was pulled back neatly, and she carried herself with quiet confidence. Next to her walked a man in an even more expensive suit, clearly her lawyer. The alien observers in the back of the room leaned forward slightly. Judge Whitman noticed the green-skinned Mahoney ambassador blinking all four eyes with interest. These days, how humans handled their legal matters was always watched closely by the other species. Dr. Amara Jenkins, Judge Whitman said, his voice filling the room without effort. You are accused of allowing unauthorized energy emissions from your research facility that disrupted local transportation systems for 6 hours last Tuesday. How do you plead? The woman stepped forward. Guilty, Your Honor. Her lawyer looked surprised for just a second before his face went blank again. Judge Whitman raised an eyebrow. Most people with lawyers that expensive fought every charge. Can you explain what happened? Judge Whitman asked. My research team was testing a new energy converter. We filed all the proper permits, but our calculations were off. The energy output was stronger than we predicted and interfered with the mag train signals. We shut down immediately when alerted to the problem. Judge Whitman scrolled through the file. This is the second warning for your facility in 3 months. Yes, Your Honor. The previous incident involved a different system, but I take full responsibility. The courtroom was unusually quiet. Most defendants tried to blame someone else or make excuses. Judge Whitman studied Dr. Jenkins. She met his eyes without fear or challenge, just calm acceptance. Given the severity of the disruption and your facility's previous warning, I am imposing a fine of 50,000 credits. A murmur ran through the courtroom. It was a heavy fine for what many would consider a minor offense. Judge Whitman watched carefully for her reaction. Dr. Jenkins simply nodded. I understand, Your Honor. She pressed her thumb to her payment device and transferred the credits on the spot. No arguing. No complaints about the amount. Her lawyer leaned over to whisper something, but she shook her head slightly. The fine has been paid in full, the court system announced automatically. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins, Judge Whitman said. I trust there will not be a third incident. There will not be, Your Honor. As she turned to leave, Judge Whitman noticed something odd. Ambassador Kim, Earth's representative to the Confederation, was sitting in the back of the courtroom. The ambassador was watching Dr. Jenkins with great interest, a small smile on his face. Just as Dr. Jenkins reached the door, a tall blue alien blocked her path. It was a Zolani trader, known for their direct manner. You humans always surprise, the alien said in stilted English. Most species argue fines, especially when they can afford better outcome. Dr. Jenkins smiled politely. The law applies to everyone equally, regardless of what they can afford. The Zolani made the whistling sound that was their version of laughter. Fascinating philosophy. My people will hear of this. After they left, Judge Whitman called for a short break. He couldn't stop thinking about the strange encounter. Most wealthy defendants fought every charge and used their money to reduce penalties. Dr. Jenkins had done the opposite. In his private chamber, he quickly searched for information about her. His eyes widened as he read the results. Before he could process what he learned, his assistant knocked on the door. Judge, Ambassador Kim wants to speak with you. Whitman closed the screen. Send him in. The ambassador entered with a knowing smile. Interesting case just now. It seemed straightforward enough, Whitman replied carefully. Did you know who she was before you find her? Should I have? Ambassador Kim laughed softly. I think your day is about to get much more interesting, Judge Whitman. Much more interesting indeed. Ambassador Kim settled into the chair across from Judge Whitman's desk. The judge's office was simple but elegant, with a large window showing the Atlanta skyline where sleek buildings stood alongside older structures. Flying vehicles moved between them in orderly lanes. So, Judge Whitman said, pouring 2 cups of coffee, tell me about Dr. Jenkins. Ambassador Kim accepted the cup with a nod. What do you know already? Only what I just looked up. She owns a company called Quantum Horizons. But I didn't get to read much before you arrived. The ambassador smiled. Saying Amara Jenkins owns a company is like saying the ocean contains some water. He pulled out a small device and placed it on the desk. A hologram appeared showing a woman's face, Dr. Jenkins, alongside numerous news headlines and financial charts. Dr. Amara Jenkins is worth approximately 12 trillion credits. She invented the quantum communication technology that allows instant messaging across star systems. Before her discovery, messages between Earth and Alpha Centauri took over 4 years. Judge Whitman nearly spilled his coffee. 12 trillion? That's more than the annual budget of the entire Earth government. Indeed. Her company, Quantum Horizons, supplies 90% of all faster-than-light communication technology used in the Confederation. The remaining 10% uses her patents under license. The judge stared at the hologram, remembering the woman in the simple gray suit who had stood before him just an hour ago. And I find her 50,000 credits. A sum she probably earns in interest every few seconds, Ambassador Kim said with a small laugh. But she didn't contest it. She didn't even try to reduce the fine. That's what makes this interesting. Ambassador Kim swiped through the hologram to show various alien faces reacting with surprise. News of this morning's hearing has already spread to 17 star systems. The representatives from the Mahoney Collective sent me 3 messages asking if this was typical human behavior. Judge Whitman frowned. What do you mean? In most Confederation societies, the wealthy are expected to use their influence to avoid penalties. It's almost a cultural obligation. The fact that the richest human alive simply accepted your ruling without protest has confused them. The judge's terminal chimed with an incoming message. He glanced at it and his eyes widened. The Galactic News Network wants an interview? And that's just the beginning, Ambassador Kim said. I've received 14 diplomatic requests for information about human legal compliance customs in the last hour. Judge Whitman stood up and walked to the window, trying to process this information. So Dr. Jenkins just, what? Decided to make herself an example? I believe so. Humans are still new to the Confederation. Many older species view us with suspicion. They're watching to see if we truly respect the laws we agreed to follow. The ambassador joined him at the window. Dr. Jenkins understood what was at stake beyond a mere fine. She could have explained who she was. And what would that have accomplished? Special treatment because of her wealth? That would have sent precisely the wrong message. Judge Whitman's assistant appeared at the door, looking flustered. Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there are 3 Confederation delegates in the waiting room asking to meet you. And Dr. Jenkins has sent a package. The assistant placed a small box on the desk. Inside was a handwritten note and a piece of smooth black stone. The note read, Judge Whitman, thank you for treating me as you would any citizen. The stone is from the first exoplanet where we established a quantum relay. I believe it's important to remember the foundations upon which we build our future. Amara Jenkins. Ambassador Kim peered at the stone with interest. That's from Proxima B, very rare. I don't understand, Judge Whitman said. Why would she thank me for fining her? Because you treated her according to the law, not according to her status. The ambassador checked his communication device and smiled. The Vraxian delegates are particularly interested in your ruling. They've requested copies of all your previous judgments. The Vraxians? They've barely acknowledged humanity's existence until now. Things are changing, Judge. Ambassador Kim headed for the door. I suggest you prepare yourself. I believe Dr. Jenkins has just made you one of the most important humans in interstellar relations. As the ambassador left, Judge Whitman turned the smooth black stone over in his hand. His terminal continued to chime with incoming messages from across the galaxy, all because he had found the richest woman on Earth without knowing who she was. What game are you playing, Dr. Jenkins? He whispered to himself, staring at the stone that had traveled light years to reach his desk. Something told him he would find out very soon. 2 weeks had passed since the courtroom incident. Judge Whitman was working late in his office, the city lights of New Atlanta twinkling through his window. His desk was covered with messages from various alien diplomats, all curious about human judicial customs. The simple fine he had given Dr. Jenkins had somehow turned him into an unofficial ambassador for Earth's legal system. The door chimed softly. Come in, he called, expecting his assistant. Instead, Dr. Amara Jenkins herself stood in the doorway. She wore a dark blue suit similar to the gray one from court, simple yet perfectly tailored. Behind her stood a stern-looking man with short hair and perfect posture that screamed military training. Judge Whitman, she said with a polite nod. I apologize for the late visit. This is Captain Park of Earth Defense. We need to speak with you about something important. Whitman gestured to the chairs in front of his desk. Please, sit down. Captain Park didn't smile as he sat. His eyes constantly scanned the room, checking the corners and the window. Is this office secure, Your Honor? Secure? It's a judge's chamber, not a military bunker. Dr. Jenkins reached into her pocket and pulled out a small silver disc. She placed it on the desk and pressed its center. A soft blue light spread across the room. Now it's secure, she said. This creates a privacy field. No one can hear what we say, and it blocks all electronic surveillance. Judge Whitman raised his eyebrows. I'm assuming this isn't about another energy emission violation? I wish it were that simple, Dr. Jenkins said. The disc projected a holographic map showing several star systems. Small red dots blinked at various points. These are human colonies and research stations along the outer rim. Over the past month, 5 of them have been attacked. Captain Park leaned forward. The attackers are Vraxians. They claim our stations are in their territory, but these boundaries were clearly established when Earth joined the Confederation. Vraxians? Whitman frowned. The same species that suddenly became interested in my court rulings? Yes, Dr. Jenkins said. They're testing us, Judge. Testing how far they can push before we push back. This sounds like a military matter, or something for the diplomatic corps. Why come to me? Dr. Jenkins and Captain Park exchanged glances. She nodded slightly, and the captain continued. We've taken this to the Confederation Council. They refused to intervene, saying it's a territorial dispute that should be resolved between our species. But the Vraxians won't even meet with our ambassadors. They're looking for a reason to start a larger conflict, Dr. Jenkins added. If we defend our colonies with military force, they'll claim humans are aggressive and dangerous. Several older species already view us with suspicion. They might side with the Vraxians. Judge Whitman stood up and paced around his desk. I still don't understand what this has to do with me. I'm a civil court judge, not a military strategist. Dr. Jenkins smiled for the first time since entering. You established something valuable when you fined me, Judge. You showed the Confederation that humans respect the law even when it's inconvenient. That fine was deliberate? Whitman asked, surprised. You wanted me to fine you? The violation was real, but I could have contested it or had my lawyers reduce it to a warning. She tapped the hologram, zooming in on one of the attacked stations. Now we need to use Confederation law to protect our people where military options would fail. Captain Park pulled out a data tablet. We've gathered evidence of the Vraxian violations. Energy weapons signatures, ship identification codes, communication intercepts. All proof that they're violating established borders. We need someone the Confederation respects to present this evidence, Dr. Jenkins said. Someone who has shown they believe in the rule of law above power or wealth. We need you, Judge Whitman. Whitman sat back down, stunned. You want me to take this to the Confederation courts? I'm not even licensed to practice beyond Earth's jurisdiction. I've already arranged special permission, Dr. Jenkins said. My company has considerable influence with the Judicial Assembly. They've agreed to hear our case, but only if it's presented by you. Why me specifically? Because you treated the richest human alive the same way you would treat any citizen, Captain Park said bluntly. That impressed them. Dr. Jenkins stood up. We leave for the Confederation's Central World tomorrow morning. My ship is prepared to take us there. This is a lot to process, Whitman said. What if I refuse? Then we lose our best chance to stop this conflict before it escalates, she replied quietly. And more human lives will be lost. The hologram showed another red dot beginning to blink. Captain Park touched his earpiece. That's the research station near Tau Ceti. They're under attack right now. Judge Whitman stared at the blinking light, imagining the people fighting for their lives. What time do we leave? He asked. Doctor. Jenkins' ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a gentle shudder. Through the viewing window, Judge Whitman saw a massive space station floating against the backdrop of an enormous gas giant. The station looked like a giant snowflake made of crystal and metal, with thousands of lights twinkling along its surface. Welcome to Harmony Station, Dr. Jenkins said. Home of the Confederation Supreme Court. Captain Park stood behind them, checking his data tablet. Our hearing is scheduled in 6 hours. The Vraxian representatives have already arrived. Judge Whitman adjusted his formal robes. He had barely slept during the 3-day journey, spending every waking hour studying Confederation law and preparing their case. Are we ready? As ready as we can be, Dr. Jenkins replied. My legal team will meet us at the docking bay with any final updates. The ship glided smoothly into a large hangar filled with vessels of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like sea creatures, others like geometric shapes that shouldn't be able to fly. Whitman was reminded again of how new humans were to this galactic community. After passing through several security checkpoints, they were led to a preparation room. The walls were made of a strange material that shifted colors slightly as Whitman looked at them. The Vraxians have filed a motion to dismiss our case, said Ms. Cho, the head of Dr. Jenkins' legal team. They claim humans don't have standing to bring complaints before the Supreme Court. On what grounds? Whitman asked. Our species has been part of the Confederation for less than 30 Earth years. They argue we're still in our probationary period. Judge Whitman frowned. The membership charter says nothing about probationary periods for legal standing. Correct, Ms. Cho said with a small smile. I've prepared the counter-argument for you. The hours passed quickly as they finalized their strategy. Finally, a tall, blue-skinned attendant appeared at the door. The court is ready to receive you. The Supreme Court chamber was enormous. The ceiling soared at least 100 meters above, appearing to contain actual stars that twinkled in patterns. Massive pillars of crystal supported the dome. 7 judges from 7 different species sat on a raised platform, their diverse forms barely recognizable as sentient to human eyes. On the left side of the chamber stood the Vraxian delegation. They were tall, reptilian beings with silver-gray scales and vertical pupils. Their leader, Ambassador Zarek, fixed Whitman with a cold stare. The Chief Justice, a being that appeared to be made of shifting smoke contained within a translucent shell, spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. This court recognizes Judge Harold Whitman of Earth, speaking on behalf of the human government in the matter of territorial violations. Ambassador Zarek represents the Vraxian Imperium. Whitman stepped forward to the central podium. Honored Justices, I present evidence of systematic violations of established boundaries by Vraxian military forces, resulting in the destruction of human research facilities and loss of human lives. Ambassador Zarek immediately moved to his own podium. These humans misunderstand the historical claims of the Vraxian people. The territories in question have been part of our domain for millennia before these newcomers arrived in our galaxy. The boundaries were clearly established when Earth joined the Confederation, Whitman countered. The Vraxian representatives signed the agreement themselves. Circumstances change, Zarek said smoothly. And humans are barely spacefaring. They misunderstand the complexities of interstellar borders. The debate continued for hours. Whitman presented the evidence collected by Dr. Jenkins' company, energy weapon signatures matching Vraxian technology, communication logs, sensor data showing Vraxian ships crossing established boundaries. Ambassador Zarek dismissed each piece of evidence, questioning its accuracy or suggesting it had been fabricated. The justices listened impassively, their alien features impossible for Whitman to read. Finally, Dr. Jenkins stepped forward. If the court permits, I would like to present one final piece of evidence. The Chief Justice's smoky form swirled faster. Proceed. Dr. Jenkins activated a small device she carried. A complex holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing star systems, boundaries, and ship movements in incredible detail. This is a quantum-fixed mapping system developed by my company. Unlike standard navigation systems, quantum-fixed maps cannot be altered or tampered with. The positions are locked at the quantum level. She zoomed in on one section. This shows Vraxian ships crossing the established boundaries on 17 separate occasions over the past month. Ambassador Zarek hissed. This is human trickery. Their technology is not advanced enough for quantum-fixed mapping. Dr. Jenkins smiled slightly. I assure you, it is. One of the justices, a crystalline being, leaned forward. This technology represents a significant advancement. The Confederation Science Council has been attempting to develop quantum-fixed mapping for decades. Whitman saw his opportunity. He stepped to the center of the chamber. Honored justices, the law applies equally to all species, regardless of how long they've been part of the Confederation or their economic standing. That is the principle that Earth believes in and honors. We ask only that this same principle be applied to protect our people from these unprovoked attacks. The court fell silent as the justices conferred among themselves. Judge Whitman stood tall, awaiting their decision. The 7 judges of the Confederation Supreme Court returned after an hour of deliberation. The chamber had remained tense and quiet while they were gone. Judge Whitman tried to appear calm, but his heart raced as the alien judges glided back to their positions. The Chief Justice's smoke-like form swirled faster as it prepared to speak. The voice that came from it seemed to enter Whitman's mind directly rather than pass through his ears. This court has reached a decision in the matter of Earth versus the Vraxian Imperium regarding territorial violations. The entire chamber fell completely silent. Whitman could feel Ambassador Zarek's cold stare from across the room. The evidence presented by Earth's representative is conclusive. The quantum-fixed mapping system leaves no room for dispute about the location of the established boundaries. The Vraxian forces have clearly and repeatedly violated these boundaries. Ambassador Zarek stepped forward to object, but the Chief Justice continued before he could speak. The court finds in favor of Earth's petition. All Vraxian forces must withdraw from the disputed territories within 30 standard days. The Confederation will establish monitoring stations to ensure compliance. A low hiss came from the Vraxian delegation, but they made no formal protest. They knew the ruling was final. Furthermore, the Chief Justice added, the court recognizes the value of Earth's commitment to upholding Confederation law. We hereby invite Earth to join the Security Council as its newest member. Whitman almost gasped. The Security Council was one of the most powerful bodies in the Confederation, previously closed to newer species. Ambassador Kim, who had joined them for the hearing, looked stunned. As the court adjourned, Dr. Jenkins shook Whitman's hand. Congratulations, Judge. You've accomplished something remarkable today. The journey back to Dr. Jenkins' ship was filled with congratulations from representatives of various species, many of whom had barely acknowledged humans before. Once they were alone in the ship's conference room, Whitman finally asked the question that had been bothering him. You knew how this would play out, didn't you? From the very beginning. That day in my courtroom was never about the fine. Dr. Jenkins looked at him with respect. Not entirely. I needed to find someone who understood justice beyond politics or wealth. Someone the Confederation would respect. And my sentencing you helped establish that? Exactly. The Vraxians were watching Earth carefully, looking for weaknesses. When they saw a judge fine one of the richest humans without hesitation, and saw that human accept the ruling without protest, it confused them. It didn't fit their understanding of how power works. Captain Park entered with a data tablet. Good news. The Vraxians have already begun withdrawing their ships from our research stations. Through the viewing window, the massive space station grew smaller as they pulled away. Whitman watched it disappear as they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. Justice is a universal language, Dr. Jenkins said, joining him at the window. Even species that look nothing like us can understand the concept of fair treatment under law. What happens now? Whitman asked. Now Earth has a seat at one of the most important tables in the galaxy, she replied. We've proven ourselves worthy of respect. The ship hummed as it prepared to jump. Captain Park returned with more news. We've received a message from Earth government. They're establishing an interspecies legal academy and want Judge Whitman to lead it. Dr. Jenkins smiled. Would you consider it? We need more judges who understand both human and Confederation values. Teaching others to navigate interstellar law? Whitman considered the idea. I believe I would. As the stars outside stretched into lines during the jump to FTL speed, Whitman thought about how a simple fine in a courtroom had led to this moment. His entire understanding of his role in the universe had changed in just a few weeks. There's one thing I still don't understand, he said to Dr. Jenkins. You risked a lot with this plan. What if I had recognized you in court and reduced your fine because of who you were? Then you wouldn't have been the right person for this job, she said simply. And I would have found another way. And the energy emissions violation? Was that real or staged? Dr. Jenkins laughed. Oh, it was real. One of our experiments did get out of hand. I just chose not to contest it when I saw who the judge was going to be. Ambassador Kim approached them with glasses of champagne. To Earth's newest diplomat, he said, raising his glass to Whitman. As they toasted their success, Whitman realized that sometimes the smallest actions, like treating everyone equally under the law, could have consequences that reached across the stars. On a screen behind them, reports were already coming in from Earth. The headlines read, Judge and Billionaire team up to defend Earth. The simple case that had started it all was now just a footnote in a much larger story.